So that's pretty much all I've been doing. David, what you doing?
A lot of stuff. One, of course, I went to Meepleville Cafe today, so we'll catch up on that. But I love that place. It's awesome. I forgot that I thought it was 10. We went to the one in California, Game House, and it's 10. So when you told me it was 5, I was like, oh, it's like, did it go down? And he's like, no, we've always been. I was just like, so affordable. All day. Literally, you can go there at noon and stay till like midnight. It's like $5. It's way what we're talking about, $8.95 for a movie ticket. Like, this is way better. So of course we played a bunch of games. I love board games. I know you guys know that. It goes without saying.
Gasp.
Speaking of board games, though, I did a segment for Board Game Blender, which is on the Dice Tower. Board Game Blender is done by Z Garcia. He is one of the people that works on the Dice Tower, which is like they're like the board game YouTube channel. They're the guys. But they have this.
Some of the board games we saw there were like Dice Tower approved, so it's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, no, they're big time. And they do this segment or this video segment every 2 weeks called Board Game Blender, where they ask a bunch of contributors to, basically they have a theme. Like this week's theme was just for kids. So it's games that are great for kids, but adults play anyways. So the one that I talked about was Dr. Eureka, which you guys got a chance to play last week. Excellent game. But it's awesome. It's really cool to be like, it's surreal actually. Cause I watch that all the time, you know what I mean? And now it's like,
It's you, David.
That's crazy.
I watched it just to see you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
I kept clipping through other people. I'm like, okay, fast forward.
Like when I went into Meepleville today, the guy was like, I was like, oh yeah, where you do a podcast, whatever. And he's like, yeah, you look familiar. He's like, sit down. I'm like, sit down standard. He's like, oh yeah. Like you look really familiar. I'm just like, oh my goodness. Stars in my eyes. I was like,
well, see, I was gonna not talk about this, but I was trying to be a cool kid. But I was like refreshing on Thursday because it comes out on Thursday like every 10 minutes. Like, did it come out? Did it come out? Set the notification. Did it come out? Maybe the notification didn't come through and maybe it's still there. So I'm like checking it. I'm checking the view count. Like, it's just so cool. It's just so cool. And there's a ton of cool segments that they do on there. And like, I tweeted out something and like the other contributors liked it. I was like, oh my God. I'm like,
you're part of the community.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's awesome. Huge fun. I know. I'm
blushing, David.
You know when you like meet someone like famous and you're like, I'm going to be cool. And then you like turn into a puddle. That's how I am. I'm not even going to play it off. So that's one thing I was doing. I also caught up on a bunch of TV. Watched a bunch of TV this week.
Did you check out The Affair yet?
No.
You jerk.
Okay. Well, I did finish Daredevil season 2 on Netflix.
It is about time. How could you let that?
I know. I don't know. Here's the thing. The show starts off with a bang. No pun intended. Bang.
No, the first like 4 episodes
are insane. And then it has this kind of like, okay, we have to. They introduce, the Punishers in it. We've already talked about Elektra's in it. Stick, who was in the season 1, is in it, and then they've got Foggy and
Stick.
He was
the old guy,
the guy that trained him. So all these characters are in there, and they have to kind of. And they talked about the Hand a little bit. He fought Nobu, who was the ninja in the first season. So they kind of have to figure out a way to make all of this work, which is a difficult thing to do. You know what I mean? That's why like Josh Whedon and those guys that do the Avengers movie, like God bless you, because it's hard to fit all of these incoherent parts together to make a well-crafted story. So in the middle of it, it seems like there is a moment in the show that takes this kind of dip in it because it's like, okay, we have to give some exposition to these other characters that don't have superpowers to kind of give them a reason for what their arc is going to be at the end of this season. I will say that the girl, the actress that plays, I forget her first name, Paige is her last name. God, I can't remember her first
Elektra?
name. No.
The girlfriend.
Well, she'd be kind of a girlfriend,
she's the over actress.
She does overact, but she's consistent in it, so it almost feels like
she's the dramatic friend.
She's just emotional, man.
No, exactly.
Hey, how you doing?
No, it actually, because I start to pick it up when you brought it up, and I'm like, she kind of does. But then there's times where like she's just being like she's seen some crazy stuff in the show, and she's still like she sees somebody get killed, and she's just like, oh my God. I'm like, you've seen like 40 guys get bludgeoned to death, like
in a hospital, everyone dying, and.
But I find it funny in the shows whenever like they're like if you have a name and you die, it's a big deal. But there's all these side people that are just being thrown off buildings and like
stuff.
or just like falling downstairs. Like necks were broken. Like there's no way everybody survived.
The show though, the show is brutal. That show's more brutal than Jessica Jones, which I didn't think they were going to go there. There's some like when here's an example in TV shows. Gun pointed at somebody, turn the camera, hear the gun, blood splatters behind the character that's shooting them. They show it. Like, they show point blank shots in this movie.
Just the whole beginning scene where he's gunning down the Irish gangsters or whatever. It's
yeah. It's super brutal.
awesome.
But they do some awesome fan service at the end of this. There's like the last 2 episodes of this are amazing. There's a fight scene. There's 2 fight scenes in particular in this where it's just like an army versus Daredevil, and it's just
so much TV.
It's so cool. The way that they show his abilities. They kind of do this like effect of like everything's foggy except near his face, and then like certain things kind of come into focus and come out of focus because you're like, you feel his, like, they do a good job of doing indicating to you his ability to pick up on things. The other thing that I noticed is that Daredevil, whoever's playing him, does a good job of being a fake blind guy. Every time he's trying to be
looking off camera.
No, just not even that. Like even when he's playing like the character, he always like, when he has the stick, like, he can see everything, right? Like, through everything.
Yeah.
He moves the stick around no matter what scene he's in. Like, the continuity is perfect in this movie. Like, he always looks like he's blind
you're
in the
like
show.
an actor faking to be a blind guy who's faking to be completely blind. So it's like, it makes it a little easier because, like, even if he screwed up, it's like he could sense that.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
guess that's
like,
true.
But even when he has the suit on where he has sight, quote unquote.
Yeah, he does.
He still does like the look thing.
He looks to his left
like a blind
and looks
person.
down.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of funny because you get more shots this season of like because he has his suit on the whole season. It's kind of weird because he has like combat boots on, which is just kind of weird to see like a superhero in like boots, like regular boots, because he doesn't have like a superhero outfit, you know what I mean? So it's like Doc Martens. It's just weird to see him like kicking the crap out of people with Doc Martens on, because you see like the laces and like they're laced up like, you know, combat boots. It's just weird. But the show's fantastic. It did, for me, I didn't enjoy the way it ended. I'm not a huge fan of it. They leave it open, but I just didn't enjoy the way that they kind of ended it. It's a.
What part did you not like? I mean, it's not like we're spoiling it.
Well, he hasn't watched it. All I'm gonna say is the transition of how the arc of Punisher. I didn't enjoy the ending of his.
I think he's getting his own show.
No, he
I like how he
is.
stepped in at the end.
Well, spoiler. Well, that's kind of obvious. Yeah,
alert.
that's obvious. Yeah, but it's I just didn't enjoy the beginning of his was so good. I think it kind of fizzled out at the end.
It definitely fizzled out, but it was almost
it's a Daredevil
like
show though, so I get it. Like,
it was like they ended the first 4 episodes were Punisher episodes, then the next 4 were like Elektra,
and then the last 4
were really just Daredevil, and then the
the interactions a little bit. Yeah,
the thing I didn't like is just I don't like the ninjas.
The hand,
it's stupid.
Well, it's an easy bad guy.
I know.
We see some supernatural stuff.
Yeah, you do see some. Yeah.
They just they need to have a million guys that you can see fight. But I'd so much rather watch him fight the bikers and fight like the real people than fight these like ninjas who can not make a sound marching downstairs.
Yeah, and they cover up their heartbeat and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of ridiculous.
It goes a little.
Yeah, they go into the supernatural stuff. It's cool though that there's a lot of little Easter eggs throughout this entire show. They make references obviously to the other shows. Jessica Jones. They make reference. The attorney that's in Jessica Jones is in this. She makes a small cameo. What's her name from Trinity?
Yeah.
Carrie Ann Moss. Is that her name?
Oh, really? She's in this?
She's in Jessica Jones, so she plays a high-powered attorney. So she's in it, and it's just everyone it's well acted, just like every Netflix show. The settings are so fantastic. I don't know how they get these shots in New York.
It's called money, man.
I know, but it's so good. So yeah, go watch it. I think it's 13 episodes, which was kind of a lot. I thought it was
most of the Netflix shows.
That
are
was 13.
the
same as last.
Was it? I thought it was 12 last season.
Netflix staples.
You don't ever finish on 13. That's a bad luck, right? I mean,
but all their shows, House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, all 13.
So yeah, so I watched that. The other show that I caught up on, I've been catching up on because it's on after Game of Thrones, is Silicon Valley. It's a comedy made by Mike Judd, who made Office Space, famous for that.
Is Mike Judd Davis in Butthead?
Judge? Yeah. I think it's Mike Judge. Yeah. Yeah.
Why are they bringing that back?
They did. They did bring it back, and it was terrible.
Did very well. Yeah.
Nobody watches music videos anymore, buddy.
I'm just saying, that movie was great.
Oh, Do America or whatever?
Yeah.
That wasn't great.
Yeah.
You know what it is? That show fits... I think it's not far enough now. It's not edgy enough.
Probably.
You know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff's not, like, cool.
Butt humor.
Yeah, exactly. When we were kids, that was like... You're not supposed to watch that stuff. You know what I mean? Now it's just like, we talk about that stuff all the time.
5-year-olds are like saying things I've never heard. Like, what's wrong with you children?
Exactly. So Silicon Valley, it's a comedy show on it's on HBO, and it has some of the best like awkward acting. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
perfect. It fits like the Silicon Valley. Obviously, I'm not from Silicon Valley, so maybe I'm typecasting here, but I am a nerd. And I definitely see like these kind of nerdy characteristics that some of these characters have, like the programmer that doesn't know how to, he's like so antisocial and all that stuff. And then you have the Guilfoyle, who's like a dick programmer. I know somebody exactly like that. So you did it wrong. You know, I know someone exactly like that. And their kind of personalities fit them. And it's just, and the main guy, Tom Middleditch is like perfect as the awkward. Like there's a part in the last episode where he has this dramatic speech and he slips and hits his head on the desk.
Yeah, so
it's like perfect.
Yeah, he's like giving like this, basically an ultimatum to his CEO boss. And he's like, you need me. And if you don't give me what I want, you're not going to be able to do what you want. And like, screw you. And he has this epic, like, you know, like speech, like in the movie.
He never does because he's always like introverted, antisocial guy.
And he comes up onto the table, he puts his hands on the table to be dramatic. And then he's touching two pieces of paper and his hands slide out of the way and he just smacks his face. And they're like, are you okay? And he's like, that was pretty awesome. But the last part didn't work out so well. And he's like bleeding from his nose. Amazing acting. It's so funny and it feels.
Did you catch up? Like you watched all of them?
Yeah, I'm caught up on the most recent one. Yeah, that's so funny. All of that stuff is hilarious.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, if you're watching the video version, you know what I'm talking about. But they make the whole idea is it's these guys that worked at a company called Hooli, which is essentially kind of the Google. Facebook, Google-ish type thing. It's this big conglomerate with the CEO who like thinks he's, you know, God's gift to the earth, you know, Zuckerberg style. And they work for him, and he's developing this essentially program that has the ability to compress things in a very efficient manner. Eventually, he takes that program. He essentially gets fired, sort of, and this program he takes to like one of those tech conventions, like
TechCrunch.
TechCrunch.
Called, yeah.
Is that actually a thing?
I think it is.
So they take it to this TechCrunch, which is like an indie developer thing, and they find out like it's like this crazy algorithm.
Like startups compete their products.
Yeah.
They create a startup called Pied Piper, which is their algorithm, inside out algorithm. And inside out, that's where the idea came from.
Never mind. So anyways, they develop this, and then Hooli, there's like the first season's all about them kind of learning how to get to TechCrunch and get this platform up and running. Second season talks about they get into some legal battles. So it's very meta in the world of...
Doors go like this. Doors go like this.
Yeah, he's talking... There's the guy that...
3 commas.
He keeps talking about him. He comes to him, he's like... One of the investors in his company who's trying to do the startup, he's like this super rich jerk. And he's like, this is called 3 comma wine. He's like, what is that? He's like, 'cause, you know, 3 commas, I'm worth $1 billion. And it's just like, and then he comes to him, he's like, I'm poor, I lost all my money. And he's like, what's wrong? He's like, I'm only 2 commas now. Well, I can't afford anything.
Yeah, he was driving, and I forgot what car he was driving first, but then he comes back in a McLaren, I think 650, and the doors are normal. He's like, I don't want doors to go like this. I want doors to go like this. So 3 comma doors.
It's very Mike Judge, and it's very, very funny. If you get a chance to check it out, just if you're watching Game of Thrones, just stay in the chair because it's on right after it. Yeah. It's really good. But I have HBO now, so you just burn through that stuff super easy.
It's a half hour. So.
Yeah, it's a half-hour show too. It's just, remember we talk about, I always have that comedy show that kind of fits that window of like, I watch it every week like Community used to be in, and then they ended it. This is that new.
Yeah, Game of Thrones Silicon Valley is my Sunday schedule. Pretty much.
So good.
But that Inside Out thing, you know?
The Inside Out algorithm, yeah.
That is one of the funniest scenes I've seen on television in since probably Arrested Development.
Yeah.
I haven't laughed that hard at a scene on television. It's hilarious. I'll show it to you afterwards.
There's for instance, one of the things, not to jump back onto the show, but they're trying to pitch their algorithm, and so they have to go to these companies to try to pitch their algorithm to get them to invest in the company. And one of them that they go to is a porn company, right? Because that makes sense, right? Compressing a lot of it. And so they show this clip of like a convention of a bunch of porn websites trying to pitch their products. And they have like little, placards of all the different names of all of the websites. And you can imagine some of the ones that they made up just as like a joke. I probably couldn't. I laughed so hard. And like they're up there like, and they're all in suits, like, they're businessmen and businesswomen trying to sell it's hilarious. Like they make so much fun of that industry and what goes on in that. And like, there's like this one startup company that's trying to put mustaches on people. That's all they do. Like you take a photo of yourself, we put a mustache on it. It's a brilliant idea. It'll make $1 billion. It's great. It talks about the whole bubble of like, the .com bubble stuff.
TJ Miller, who's from Deadpool, the funny guy in Deadpool.
Yeah, the bartender.
He runs his own incubator.
Yeah, it's
just his house because he used to have a startup and he sold it, so now he has all this money, quote unquote. So he has a startup incubator in his house.
So you live with him and you make your startup there, and then he gets 10%, and you can like basically.
But he always thinks he's the smart guy. Of
Yeah,
everything,
he's the Steve
we
Jobs.
just smoke weed all day. That's hilarious.
It's a great show. You need to watch it. It's really, really good. So that's what I was doing. Anything else you got lined up, or are we going to wrap it up here?
Oh, well, the one thing we were going to talk about was the
Google? Oh, that's right.
Oh,
yeah,
Google I/O is this week. Google I/O 2016.